I will currently, in this conflict, for every single death that Hamas caused, I will be condemning the Israelis 10 or 12 times for every single one. And in every year that this conflict has taken place, the Israelis have killed more, many more Palestinians than have been killed by any form of resistance to Palestine. So if we are to be fair, in our condemnation of people killing civilians, then the weight of that condemnation will fall on the Israeli state because it has killed far, far more Palestinians than the Palestinian resistance has killed Israelis.
Look, we've been hearing some excerpts from a piece exclusively in The Times by Suella Braverman, the Home Secretary, this evening, where she describes the pro-Palestinian movement as having mobilised tens of thousands of angry demonstrators. How do you feel being described in that way?
Well, they're probably angry at her. That probably is true. She's the most divisive and incendiary politician to hold cabinet rank in this country since Enoch Powell. And Ted Heath quite rightly sacked Enoch Powell for the kind of remarks that he made, which are very similar to the kind of rhetoric which Suella Braverman uses. Rishi Sunak is too weak a prime minister to get rid of a home secretary who is clearly after his job, but he should, quite frankly, find a backbone and get rid of her because she's inciting people on the streets of Britain. Before she intervened, there was no fascist march that was going to be down by the cenotaph led by Tommy Robinson this weekend. After she spoke, there is.
Well, that's what he's signalling. I have to say, we don't know that's definitely taking place. But I want your experience, having been in these protests, part of these protests, John. Are demonstrators demonstrating in an angry way? Is that an appropriate way to describe demonstrators, the large majority of demonstrators?
No, I mean, it depends what you mean. If you mean that they're upset, that they're saddened, if you think that they blame their politicians for allowing the carnage in Gaza, then I think that's true. But the mood on the demonstrations is overwhelmingly reflecting what is majority opinion in this country, confirmed, I think, by the decision of the Welsh Parliament tonight to vote for a ceasefire. That's what they're demanding. And I think that the mood is very inclusive. There are many, many Jewish people protesting on the demonstrations now. They're family-friendly marches. You see whole families marching together, babies in prams and pushchairs, very many old people. It's a cross-section of the society. So I don't think that the kind of accusations that Suella Braverman makes serve anything but her own political ambition.
There are small elements, and we know this, it's been widely reported, whether it's a person holding up a flag chanting jihad, whether it's pro-Hamas.
No, hang on a minute.
Go on.
This is a story that's going the rounds. What there was, and the only demonstration where jihad was uttered, was a separate demonstration by the group Hizb ut-Tahrir that was in a different place at a different time than our demonstration. And anybody who knows anything about the politics of the Muslim community will tell you that this is a separatist organization that not only does not want to, but will not join wider organizations. And we have explicitly said that we don't want them.
Okay. What about the leaflets? The leaflets that lean very heavily towards being pro-Hamas. There were leaflets handed out near or around one of these marches. And I'm not blaming anyone, but what's the point Suella Braverman's making is that when you get large protests, they do attract smaller splinter groups, which sadly often take the headlines because they have a different agenda to those people who just want to march in solidarity for Palestine and want to ask for a ceasefire. So
we have made it explicitly clear time and time again, both in the calls for the demonstrations from the stages on the demonstrations, that these are not our views. Now, we've had demonstrations. The three major demonstrations so far have been of the order of 100,000, 150,000, and I reckon the last one was probably closer to 250,000. Now, you can't police. The police can't police, never mind about voluntary organisations like mine, can't police every single last person on this demonstration. but you have to judge the demonstrations by their general character. And the general character, the overwhelmingly general character of these demonstrations, has been entirely peaceful and focused entirely on demanding a ceasefire.
Are you worried about Saturday at all, in light of, you accused Suella Braverman of inciting non-respectful, potentially, violent groups of people turning up? You've mentioned Tommy Robinson. Are you concerned about Saturday's march on Armistice Day for the trouble that it might attract? Not of your doing, but that's where we're heading. There are concerns, are there not? And do you echo those concerns, that you're worried about what might happen on that march?
Well, I'm naturally concerned that the Home Secretary of this country has used her position to incite a group of fascist nutters. Yes, I am concerned about that. I don't think, to be honest, that they could be
I don't think it's just Suella Braverman's fault. I don't think she's helped, but I think any large protest which grabs the headlines also grabs the attention of people that don't have the same, some might say, noble cause.
That's a fair point to make, but you can't stop having large protests because they excite the tiny minority of people who might behave badly. Now, we are an extraordinarily experienced group of stewards and organisers. I was one of the organisers of the 2003 demonstration against the Iraq War, which is the biggest political demonstration in British history, and there was absolutely no trouble on that demonstration at all. And I don't think there will be on this demonstration either. We have a very experienced group of stewards. We work with the police to ensure that the demonstrations are safe and peaceful.
And the Met Police have your complete trust that they can handle the protests this Saturday?
Well, you're pushing it a bit there, but I've certainly found that...
Well, I'd like to know if you have faith in the Met Police to get it right. That's what Rishi Sunak has said. It's down to you to get it right.
Well, I'm sure Rishi Sunak is very keen to put the police on the spot when it's actually his government which has caused a lot of the problems here. But all I will say about this is that once this political decision was ironed out, and once the Prime Minister admitted that it was absolutely impossible to ban this on any legal grounds, the police have cooperated with us, as we have done on previous occasions, to ensure the safety and the proper progression of this march. And we will, with the police, work to make sure that that happens and that no tiny groups of people either trying to associate themselves with the march politically or in opposition to the march politically will disrupt that. But if I'm going to condemn that, I will currently, in this conflict, for every single death that Hamas caused, I will be condemning the Israelis 10 or 12 times for every single one. And in every year that this conflict has taken place, the Israelis have killed many more Palestinians than have been killed by any form of resistance to Palestine. So if we are to be fair in our condemnation of people killing civilians, then the weight of that condemnation will fall on the Israeli state because it has killed far, far more Palestinians than the Palestinian resistance has killed Israelis.